All right. The title: The Power of Telling Even the Most Beautiful Woman No. As I've talked about before, briefly, it is a superpower. It's something that not too many men can harness. Most men break, but it's so valuable. Any woman who you can't say no to, she just learns to treat you like a doormat. I mean, look at what we got these men doing. If she asks you to pay some bills, it's not your responsibility. No. It comes in all different kinds and shapes of different asks and wants by these needy. Hmm. I don't know what that message is about, but anyway, back to the subject. It comes in many shapes and forms. The ass, these bums, these broke women, they'll ask for just anything, with just no self respect, no dignity. Just ask, like, how could you just ask somebody you hardly know for expensive things and think they're going to respect you? I mean, they might do it, but they don't respect themselves. You have to say no, fellas. You have to say no. You know, you can't just be captured by your thirst or her beauty. You have to be willing to say no to any woman. It could be your wife. She needs to be told no. Just because she's your wife doesn't mean you need to roll over on every subject. She doesn't respect that. She doesn't respect that at all. We got these women, they asking for anything. The food delivery apps, send me some food. Pay my bills. You know, say no. Don't be that dude who, just because she's pretty, you're out here bringing her some coffee every day, but she hardly even notices you. Stop all that nonsense. Ignore that woman. If you're not getting any reciprocation, you need to just ignore her. That girl at work you might think is pretty, you going out your way to do little favors for her, that's nonsense. That's pure nonsense. Knock it off. Just stop it. Stop it. She doesn't respect it. You don't respect yourself. Just stop it. Don't be that guy. Don't be that guy. You're making it bad for all of us. We got women who hardly know a man. They expect luxury vacations. You know, that's ridiculous. And we'll ask for it. If you're a man, you want to take her on vacation, that's a whole nother story. We're not talking about that. That's an entirely different story. You know, if somebody offers, we're not talking about that. But stop offering too much too, unless she deserves it. If she deserves it, she's your wife, she's taking good care of your kids. Even if maybe you want to take a woman who you're dating and she's been showing all the signs of being a good woman, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But you have to be willing to say no. You just have to be willing to tell these women no. You know, Beautiful women aren't even used to hearing no. It's like a foreign language to them. You know, it's just they just get their butt kissed so much and so often. They get their butt kissed at the gas station. They get their butt kissed at Walmart, Target. They can't go anywhere. A beautiful woman can't go anywhere. She's gonna get hit on. She's gonna get her butt kissed. You know, they get their groceries paid for. It's a different life. And if you can be that man who says no, then you're different than the rest. You're showing you have more self respect than the rest just off jump, asking for silly things. But the type of woman you want to marry, the type of woman you really want in your corner, she wouldn't even dare ask for any BS. You know, all that asking and begging, It's got to stop. You know, these women are begging. Men don't know how to say no. You know, you can cut off all that nonsense by just saying no. It's really so simple, but it's so hard for so many men to say no. Tell that woman no. I don't care if you've been dating her for 3 years. I don't care if you've been married to her for 20 years. You get something that runs across your boundaries the wrong way. You need to say no. Saying no is a boundary. It's a boundary that a pretty face can just melt. And men need to be stronger. You can't just let a pretty face, you know, she dressed cute, she's got all the attributes that the superficial man love. You can't just let that melt you. You know, everybody loves that stuff, but you're more likely to get a woman like that that actually respects you once you've leveled yourself up. You know, if you don't even stand a chance, you buying this woman coffee on the way to work every day, she barely even speaks to you during the day, you know, level yourself up. Ignore that woman. Tell her no. You know, the expectations are so high they don't have a problem asking. And you just need to say no. No, no, no. Tell them no. If it's anything that crosses the boundaries, you know, women need to start falling in love with a gentleman again. You know, what's wrong with a guy, you know, he holds the door open, he treats her good, he pulls out the chair, you know, he's a leader, you know, he's a protector, but he doesn't make 7 figures, so he's not good enough. You know, who cares? Who cares what she thinks? Leave her. She makes you feel not good enough at all. Leave her. You know, because she knows what she's doing. She can break you down inch by inch because you ain't saying no. You're not putting up any boundaries. You know, you can't be afraid to tell these women no. It's a superpower because so many men melt. You know, women have brought down dynasties. They've brought down empires because women be getting at men to a point where they don't know how to say no. And once you don't know how to say no, you're lost. You're lost in yourself. You know? If a woman can bring down an empire, but you have the power to say no, that makes you more powerful than some of the most powerful men in history. You gotta be unbreakable. She needs to fit into your mold, not the other way around. You're not supposed to mold to her. That's weak energy. She's supposed to fit into your success ladder. You know, you gotta be much, much willing to tell these women no. You know, nobody, you know, if you never tell a child no, they grow up into a monster. They grow up into a monster. You never tell a woman no, you're creating a monster. You're creating a monster. And as soon as you stop, as soon as you know, do say no, she's gone. She's gone. As soon as your wallet dries up, her love dries up. As soon as all the favors and all the BS dries up, her love dries up. Or her like for you. Because we got dudes doing all this kind of stuff with just like. You know? I mean, it has to end. We want to raise mature men. We want to raise daughters with values. You know? Everybody should be told no if they're overstepping their boundaries or your boundaries. They shouldn't even have it on their head to even be asking all these things. Women asking for car payments, groceries, luxury vacations. They want to be taken shopping. You don't take no woman shopping unless she's your wife or your daughter. You know, maybe you've been dating her for a few years and she's been holding it down. We'll give that. But that's it. You taking a woman shopping and you just met her and just started dating her, you're buying love. You're buying affection, you're buying time. Why is that so okay? Why is that so okay to be buying affection and love these days? Buying time. You're never going to know if she really likes you. Well, you do. You do, because if you start with your wallet out, you know that she doesn't like you. Because no man she's really into has to jump through all those hoops. A man she's really into, there's no boundaries. The man she's really in, there's no rules, there's no boundaries. All that goes out the window. Those rules and boundaries and her saying no, that's for the suckers, the guy she's not into but she's willing to talk to because he doesn't know how to say no. He doesn't know how to say no. And I can't even blame these ladies. I mean, if you could just go around and have money and luxury goods just handed to you, then not too many people are gonna pass up on that deal. I don't know why these weak energy men are even putting that deal on the table. The deal shouldn't even be on the table. It should never be on the table. You know, women can just walk around with a pretty face. A lot of them aren't pretty. Look at all the Botox, cosmetic surgeries, all the fake, y'all's kids ain't even gonna look like the mama. They're not. Kids are gonna grow up, you're gonna be looking at a stranger. These women got so much injections in their face, their lips, fake breasts, fake butts, stomach tucks. You're gonna be, you can get home, get all that makeup off, you gonna see a monster. It's all fake. It's fake, fake, fake. But they want your money to be real as steel. They want you to be rock solid. You can't be fake. You can't even. As soon as you say no, you ain't a real man anymore. They'll try to emasculate you and tell you you're not a real man real quick as soon as you say no. Saying no is the most manly thing you could do. It's the best thing you could do. Unless you're just reached all your goals in life and you're sitting pretty on all the money you could ever spend and you just got it to shower down on these begging broads. Is that where you're at in life? Are you so successful that you could just rain it down on these bras with luxury vacations and handbags and car notes being paid? Because not too many people are at that state in their life, There's very few. Most men who are even close to that are late 50s and into their 60s. And you expecting it out of these young men? That's crazy. You're breaking these young men. They ain't trying to have children with them, check babies. That's huge. Because the man didn't know how to say no. Now you stuck like Chuck for 18 years. You on the hook for child support. You got to deal with her and you can't tell her no anymore. You start telling her no, she gonna put a judge in the situation. She gonna put lawyers in the situation. It's gonna cost you, brother. That ain't worth it. Say no. Once she has that check baby by you, it's a wrap. You can't say no anymore. You say no, you done paid your child support, you done help support her new family. Soon as you say no, she gonna drag your butt back to court, be telling your kid how you ain't nothing and never did anything and you're broke and a loser. It never ends. Say no. You gonna put a stop to all this nonsense early by just saying no. No. Learn to say it. Look yourself in the mirror. Imagining you're saying it to The most beautiful woman you can think of? No. No. Put that manifestation in your head. Make it easy. Make it easy to just roll off your tongue. No. Oh, I need a new tire. No. That I don't feel comfortable doing it, sweetheart. That's not my place. I don't know you like that. Matter of fact, you coming at me like that has severely turned me off. You have to be able to say no. As a man, it's one of the most masculine things you could do as a man is to say no. You got to be able to say no to these women, or you're going to be a doormat. They're going to be wiping the off the bottom of their shoe all over you. You know, it could turn into years. Could turn into years. Got these dudes, they can't even get the woman to spend time with them, but they constantly sending them money. You're weak. You're weak. That's weak energy for a weak man, and you're doing weak things, and she knows you're weak. Weak, weak, weak. Be better. Work on yourself. She doesn't give you the attention you need, the attention you want, the attention you deserve. She doesn't reciprocate the advances that you're making because, you know, buying that little cup of coffee, making payments, those are all advances. You're trying to buy her affection, trying to buy her love, buy her time. So if she's not reciprocating on your advances, then, you know, it's time to move on. You should give him 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out. Always be a man, step to her, but not with your wallet. You know, you step into a woman with your wallet out, then, you know, you got things backwards. It's the opposite way. You know, don't take her to that 5-star restaurant trying to impress her when you first met her. That's weak energy. She sees it. You're overdoing it. You're overselling yourself. A real man doesn't even need to sell himself. No, his actions, his words, his demeanor, his aura, that's what sells him. She wants to be a part of that. She's intrigued. She wants to know what's going on with that. You don't gotta sell yourself that hard. You know, 5-star restaurants, stuff like that's for your anniversary. It's for graduation, celebrations, Valentine's Day if she's worth it. You know, they ain't for, oh, this is my first date. I just met this broad. I need to really make her think I have money that most of them don't have. It's just weak energy. It's just not manly. It's masculine energy out the door, out the window. She sees it. You know, she knows she can treat you any way now. She knows she can treat you any old way. You're going to put up with it. You're her doormat. You're her piggy bank. She has no feelings for you. Matter of fact, the more you do this nonsense, the less feelings she has for you. She knows exactly what you are. You ain't nothing but a score. You're just something she can use and tell you're all used up. And once you're used up, you don't know this person anymore. She ain't gonna want to know you when you're broke. She ain't gonna want to know you when you don't got the money anymore. She ain't gonna want to test it. You think I'm wrong? Test it. Say no. Tell her no. Tell this woman that you've been dating that you think is worth 5-star restaurants and all that. Tell her no. Just look at her face when you tell her no. She'll be like, like you just committed a sin, or you just tapped into a vein of her bugaboos, her dislikes. Like, just tell her no. Tell her no. See if she's still around. You know, if she's not, great. That really showed what kind of person she is. You know, it's a good way to get the clutter out your life. You don't even have to just say that about women. You should say that about everybody and everything. You shouldn't let anybody take advantage of your kindness or, you know, family's the worst. Say no to your family because you're too busy building yourself. Say no to your family, build yourself. Say no to these. You're messing with the wrong type of women if they even have the gumption to ask you for all these crazy things. You're paying her rent? What? You're so weak. Paying some woman's rent? You're weak. You know, you buying her the latest iPhone just because it came out and she wants it. You know, is it her birthday? Is it Valentine's Day? Is it Christmas? No, no. Invest that money. Invest that money in yourself. Invest that money in something you can't touch, but your money's growing in your sleep. That should be the goal. Your money's working for you when you're asleep, no matter what you're doing. You're laying on the beach with a woman drinking margaritas and Mai Tais. Your money should be doing jumping jacks and push-ups and dancing for you. That should be the goal. You know, paying for these women's debts, paying their rent, buying them all kind of food delivery. You might as well just throw your money down the toilet. It's insane. You know, most people are in debt. That means a lot of people who are doing this nonsense are in debt. They're just adding to their debt. We're going to have a lot of people here in a few years who are so in debt they don't even have nothing. They're going to have a lot of miserable lives. We already do, but it's going to get worse. You can go on a payment plan for a cheeseburger right now. You can go on a payment plan for a breakfast sandwich. You know, that's throwing your money away with interest. You know, we got people putting payment plans on PlayStations. Just garbage, consumer garbage. You know, how much of that wouldn't happen if we didn't have a lot of these begging bums asking men for crap that's unrealistic, expecting crap that's unrealistic, all this garbage. You know, it's not your job to glow her up, blow her up, get her a new car, make sure she's doing good. Man, you better make sure you're doing good. That ain't your job. It is not your job to up her status in life. Up your own status in life. You know? There's no ceiling on upping your status in life. There should be no ceiling at all in upping your own status in life. You're never good enough. You know, oh, I've done well enough now. I can just start paying these women's bills and buying their groceries and taking them shopping. You know, we got dudes that are behind on their child support. They giving a woman an allowance. You're weak. You're weak. You're a weak man. You know, you're ruining it for the rest of us. This weak energy, making all these women think they bragging to their friends about it, and now they think this is the way it goes. Stop this weak nonsense, please. Please, please, please. You got women laying up in the bed with a man. They call another man. He's having a food delivery service deliver food for her and the dude she's laying up in the bed with. It's crazy. Like, you could be that guy. You sitting there at work and one of these begging bums wants you to deliver food. You be delivering food for her and that other dude. And they both laughing at you. They laughing at you. I would too. Why put yourself in that position? Why would you ever put yourself in that position? All you gotta do, she texts you, order food. No. 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 You don't need an excuse. You don't need a reason to say no. You don't need excuses, reasons. That's your own stuff. That's your own stuff. Be your own man. You don't need to tell you. You don't need to explain yourself at all to any of these women. You don't need to explain yourself to anybody. As long as you ain't hurting nobody and you building yourself, you don't need to explain yourself to nobody. You owe nobody any explanations. You know? You're trying to build yourself as a man. You don't owe anybody any explanations or stories. Or you're not obligated to anything. You ain't obligated to a dang thing. Nothing. Zero obligations. You work on you. Don't let these people, women, family, friends, you don't owe anybody anything. Don't let them make you feel like you're obligated to do anything. You know? Build you. If it gets in the way of building you, then get it out your life. Drink water, go to the gym. Drink water, go to the gym, build yourself. Stop eating all that garbage. Got your face looking all puffy. Got your body looking all puffy. Stop eating all that garbage. You're killing yourself anyway. Your health. Health is wealth. It's not just a slogan. Can't build yourself and be your best version of yourself. You got a woman or multiple women you can't even say no to. Who cares if she's pretty? Who cares if she's beautiful? None of that stuff matters. You can get beautiful women when you've accomplished some of your goals, once you're further down the road. If you're not there with yourself, how are you going to be there for her? Other than paying for crap you probably can't even afford. Why would you pay for anything for these women unless it's your wife or your significant other? It's not your place, and you need to be man enough to tell them it's not your place. Tell that woman no. Tell her no. She asks for any stupid crap. These women have got the gumption to ask for you to pay for child care for kids that ain't even yours. What? Don't do it. That is her problem. If she can't even afford that, she needs to move back with her mother. And it's not your job to keep her afloat. She needs to move back with her mother, work on her. Let her mom help her with those kids. It's not your place. It's not your place. Tell them no. Tell them no. We got men that are trying to put these girls through dental hygienist school and little BS programs and stuff like that. Trying to build her up. Well, you ain't even building yourself. You know how ass backwards that sounds? You know how ignorant you sound? Talking about you putting her through some cosmetology school or some BS. You ain't doing a lick to work on yourself. You ain't even reading a self-help book, but you sitting here paying to educate her? Real men don't even care about her education. Why would you be paying for hers? When we don't even care about that anyway, because we don't care about her degree. We don't care if she has an education. We care if she's, nurturing. She pleases us. She can cook. Can she take good care of our children? That's it. If you got your together, that's all we care about. I've said it many times. All that other BS that women think makes them, you know, high value in their own heads, you know, 90% of it we don't care about. We don't care about. We don't care about lashes so long that they can't even wear sunglasses. We don't care about that. Matter of fact, it looks silly. But we sure got a lot of men paying for it. We got a ton of men paying for it. We don't even care about it. You know? Why would we pay for something we don't even care about? You know? We got men paying for these women's plastic surgeries, cosmetic surgeries, BBLs, boob jobs. You know, most women get those type of things so they can get a better man than they had before they got him. So you really paying for something for her to find better. And I mean, if it's your wife and it's some self-esteem stuff, you want to get her a boob job for Valentine's Day or something like that, I get it. Ain't nothing wrong with that. That could be a good thing for both y'all. And it could be fun for both y'all. But sitting there, you sitting here trying to get a boob job or a BB for some dancer because it's going to up her income. Yeah, it might. It probably will up her income. But you ain't going to be part of the outcome. Because the outcome is going to be she's going to get that and move on to the next. She's trying to get that so she can level herself up. And you're not on, you are going to be left behind on that lower level. That's why I encourage all men, level yourself up before you start doing any of this nonsense. Don't even ever do any of this nonsense. But if you are, quit. And if you're thinking about it, don't you dare. You're making it hard on all the real men. Real men, approach a pretty woman. Now she got all kinds of ghetto expectations. It's not even in the ghetto no more, or with low class women. It's just becoming the norm because men don't know how to say no, so it's becoming the norm. And it's sad. Say no. Tell these women no. All these delusional expectations in their warped heads and warped minds. Tell them no. I'm not being hard on women. You have to be delusioned and warped in the head to thinking a man needs to pay your rent. No man should be paying a woman's rent. That's not your wife. And as soon as you start doing dumb BS like that, she doesn't respect you anymore. She doesn't. Matter of fact, the men she's into and the men she wants to, she doesn't start asking for stuff right away. She knows that that's foul behavior. She knows that that's wrong. So the man she's into, she doesn't come at him like that. She doesn't come at him like that at all. She's much more, she's much more patient. Much more patient with the man she's into. She has no patience with the sucker. She has no patience at all with the sucker, with the guy who doesn't know how to say no. She has no patience at all. Because she doesn't have to have patience. And she's not used to having patience. So when you say no, it's like she just got hit in the face with some bug spray, She acting like a roach, even asking. Hit her with that bug spray. No. A can of no. Psst. No. Tell these women no. She asked to be taken shopping. Not the type of woman you need in your life. It's not the type of woman you need in your life. It's a woman who's asking you to take her shopping. This is a woman you've been dating for a while. Y'all in Hawaii. You want to hit Luxury Row in Honolulu. Take her shopping, spend a couple bucks, but that's a woman who's proven that she's worth it. There's a big difference between you know, taking good care of a woman that deserves it and who's been there and has had your back for years and she done put in that work. I'm not talking about those type of women. Those women are awesome. Those are the type of women who need to be leading and being more vocal nowadays, because the cesspool of just this begging and asking and these weak-minded men who don't know how to say no, and it's just getting worse and worse and worse. And the expectations and the delusion is just getting worse and worse and worse. What if men were never told no? What if we're just, we just expected to never hear no? What if men expected to never hear no ever? It would be a different world. Men aren't even allowed to say, well, if a man says, it's not right that my wife says no when I want sex, he is a piece of garbage. He will get attacked. Women will run to her side. What if men were like, I expect women to pay my rent. I expect women to change the flat tire. I expect women to take me shopping, give me an allowance, pay my student loan. He'd get laughed in his face. He would get laughed in his face. It wouldn't last. It wouldn't last. Reality would dawn on him real quick if a man went around thinking women were not allowed to tell him no. It wouldn't last a day. Women, they just skip through life like that. They don't live their life like that. They skip through life like that because there is just such an abundance of these sucker men. Just these sucker men who will just never say no. And do you know how much respect? Let's talk about that. Do you know how much respect women have for that man who can say no? It's women respect it so much. They don't want a doormat. They want a leader. They want a bull. They want somebody who's going to take charge. She taking charge. You can't say no. She's in charge when you can't say no. When you can't say no, she is officially in charge. She's the boss. Women will tell a man no quick. I don't think so. Ha ha. Laugh it off. Try telling that same woman no. She's going to be mad. If she's that type of woman. Like I said, I'm not talking about all type of women. There are some good women out there, and I'm not talking about them because a good woman knows that a man is supposed to have boundaries in his life. He ain't just supposed to say yes to everything, to anybody, to family, to friends. If you're married and your wife is sitting there and you got family you can't say no to, she's losing respect for you. She is. You can't even say no to your family. Your wife's sitting there watching you, constantly lending money, running out in the middle of the night like they got you wrapped around your finger or their finger. She don't respect that. She doesn't respect a man that anybody else on the earth has wrapped around their finger. That's weak energy. That's weak energy. You shouldn't be wrapped around anybody's finger. I don't care if it's your boss at work, whatever. You trying to get a promotion, be a man. You shouldn't, like I said before, you shouldn't even be calling another man boss. The manager, the owner, the supervisor of this establishment will suffice. You don't never call another man boss. Especially in front of your woman. She can see that's weak. It radiates weak. It might not even sink in that deeply, but in her subconscious, you know, she gets around that guy you call boss. He got more to offer. You don't think she gonna see that? He got his life together. He got his body together. He got his money together, and you're calling him boss in front of her? You know, she can't help but to be attracted to that other person. It's just weak, weak energy. Don't never ever call another man boss. Learn to tell these women no. N-O. You know, can you pay my rent? No. Can you take me shopping? No. You know, can you pay my student loans? No. Can you pay my car payment? No. I'm sorry, I don't feel comfortable doing that. And if that's not acceptable to her, then that is her problem, not yours. That's her problem. She wants the new phone. No. No, it's not her birthday. Stop trying to buy love. It's weak. It's weak energy. You know? She wants you to pay down her credit card bills, knock her out of debt, but you're in debt. You're weak. Don't do it. Say no. Tell her you're not comfortable doing that. You know? Paying down her debt and you're in debt. You a silly, silly, weak man. Not very smart. You know, be that man always picking up the tab for lunches, buying her coffees, all that weak stuff. Now she expects it. No, knock it off. Tell her no. You know, she thinks just because you got a little money, and I'm talking to the men who do now. You got a little money, you run into a woman and she thinks she should be put on allowance. Run, run, run. You don't owe her nothing. She ain't your child. You don't put no woman on an allowance. You know, definitely not a woman that's not your wife, your significant other. Like y'all been cohabitating and living together so long, you're commonly law married now. I ain't talking about you done been with her a year. That ain't long enough. You known her less than a year. You got her on an allowance. Psh, you lost, brother. You lost. She found herself a sucker. You know, she might marry you. She might act like she likes you for the perks, for the BS that you're doing. And it is BS because you shouldn't be doing it. Stop doing all this crap for these broads that don't deserve it. You just met them. They expect it in their mind. You know, that telling them no is like a dirty word, like the N word. It's the new N word. No, no, they hate it. They don't want to hear it. You're weak, and you need to step up, and it's weak energy. No, that's manly energy. That's masculine energy. And matter of fact, she need to quit all that masculine energy, thinking she's entitled and can even ask you. She shouldn't be able to ask you for jack crap. Nothing. Nada. When y'all first met, y'all just been dating a few weeks, few months. She shouldn't be asking you for nothing but your time. That's it. She should ask for your time. If she's asking for more than your time, she's going to be a liability. You want to marry a woman that when you met her, she couldn't even, pay her own bills? She got bald tires on her car? Her life's a mess. You trying to clean it up? You want to clean up that mess? That ain't your job. Don't do it. Don't do it. These are adults. Grown women need to take accountability. Not find the easy way out. And the easy way out shouldn't be you. How are you even okay with yourself doing this stupid BS? You know, you shouldn't be okay doing this crap. It should be such a turn off to even be asked. You know? She ain't got no groceries in her fridge. Now it's your job to feed her, fill up that fridge. It's not your job, it's not your obligation. You shouldn't be doing it. You shouldn't want to do it. Block her. Run. You know? You go over to a woman's house, she ain't got any groceries in the fridge. You best believe she don't even cook. You don't want that. You don't want a woman who can't cook because that means she can't cook for your kids down the line. You know? You want to be with a woman who can definitely, if you see yourself having children with her that can cook, it's very important. It's very important. You know? You want your kids raised on McDonald's and nuggets and ramen noodles? All that crap that, you know, got all these kids running around with hyperactivity and can't sit still, and they're giving them medication. Well, you've been feeding them poison since they're 2 years old and can chew hard food. Ain't nothing but nuggies and french fries and garbage. You know? It's a huge deal that a woman cooks. It's huge. Stop acting like it's not. Women will think it's cute. They'll answer that question so ignorantly now, just with pure ignorance, like they're happy that they're stupid. Can you cook? No, I don't know how to do that shit. No, that's not me. That ain't funny. It's not cute. You know? Would it be cute or funny if the man was like, I'm broke, you know, I can't do nothing for you. I ain't got no goals in life. No, that's not funny. It's not funny at all. Women wouldn't think it's funny, but they think it's hilarious to laugh at the things that they don't do. I ain't getting him a beer from the fridge. I ain't doing this. I ain't doing that. I ain't his maid. You know, if she won't, you know, look after you around the house, she sure ain't gonna be looking after no kids. You know, a man, you can put a little TV tray in front of him with a steak and a baked potato. He's good. Let him watch the game. Simple, simple creatures. You gotta chase little kids around the house full time. Now she really does have to put in some work. Now she really has to put in some work. She's not going to. Because she wasn't raised to do that. You know, she had a mother that probably told her the men should never say no. Now she's a messy house, no cooking, just unwifeable. And a lot of these dudes are wifing them. You know, then she takes half your crap. You know, because you're a low value, weak man. And down the road, when you're all used up, even as her husband, she's going to leave you and take your stuff. Take your house. She'll be living in that house that you worked for years. You know, how's that work out? Is that how you see your life in the future? Is that how you see your life in the future, with her living in the house that you worked so hard for? You can't see your kids and you're living at the crappy apartments, you know, by your job or down the street, giving her half your check. You know, alimony and child support, you might be giving her, depending on how many kids, you end up giving her more than half your check. You might be left with 25% of your income. 25% of your income. You could be left with crumbs. And it all started because you could never tell that woman no. She was cute. She was sexy. You were afraid to lose her. Blah, blah. BS. Grow up. Block these women. Run from these women. Work on yourself. No woman that you're even interested in as a long-term partner should be asking you for major things. You know, she shouldn't even be asking you for a birthday present. You know, it's her birthday. That's you should get her something, but she shouldn't dictate what it is. You know, she should be appreciative you went out your way and got her anything. You know, spoil that woman that deserves it, but don't spoil that woman you just met. Don't spoil that woman you're buying her love. It's just pure stupidity. That's all you're doing is buying her love. You know? You don't know how to say no. You paying her bills, buying her love. You know? You getting her car repairs done, you're buying her love. You're buying her time, her affection. You paying down her debt. You know, you buying her phones. You paying her car payment. You know? Every day the list gets longer. You know, she's testing you to see how much she can get and when the limit ends, and she just testing and taking and taking and testing and taking. That's all that's happening. And a lot of you suckers, a lot of you weak men are doing these things. And I'm encouraging y'all to stop. Love yourself. Respect yourself. Love and respect yourself before you're leveling up some broke, bummy woman. And I'm going to call her that because I'm talking about the ones that have their hand out. You know, no woman with her stuff together, no woman that comes from a good family who had a good parents who taught her some morals is asking men she hardly knows for high dollar items. Like, that's not hard to understand. That should just be basic, you know, humanity, social skills. You don't just meet somebody and start asking for high dollar items. Like, that's low life behavior. You know, ladies, I'm sure there's men that do it too. But those are the weakest men, and we're not talking about them. They're not even up for discussion right now. We're not talking about weak dudes. We're talking about, and if we are talking about weak men, we're talking about empowering them, building them up, teaching them to say no to nonsense, to build up those boundaries, have some self respect, be a man. You know, I don't care if it's your mom, if it's your own mama. You know, a lot of mothers come at their sons with a lot of expectations. You know, you got to be able to tell your mom no sometimes. You know, that's just real. On that pathway to personal success, you gotta, in building yourself up into being the man you want to be, you gotta be able to tell anybody no. But women especially. Women especially because, well, they never stop taking. Once you open those floodgates, they're open. And she's gonna take and take and take everything she can. And she's gonna test and take. But you gotta close those floodgates. You know, lock it down on day one. Let her know you ain't that type of dude to be messed with. You know, no, I don't feel comfortable doing that for you. I don't know you like that. If you liked me, you would do it. Yeah, I like the way you look, but just the fact that you asked me, I don't even like you anymore. That's real. How could you still like the personality of a woman that's always asking for things? That's that's such a turnoff. How could you like that? Is that a personality trait that you want around your house on a regular basis? Is somebody that is constantly asking and begging for things, giving attitude when they don't get their way, or when you do say no or you can't do it? A lot of men, they start out doing stuff and they just run out. They just can't do it anymore. You know, a lot of women have high expectations from men that aren't wealthy millionaires. They expect that guy who's working at the Amazon factory and Home Depot. They expect million dollar dreams out of him and $1 million expectations. You know, sorry, The guy who's a manager at AutoZone cannot be taking you to the Louis store and buying you all kinds of bags. He might have the best heart. He might be the best man. He might be a hard worker. He might install rock solid views and values in your children. But he's not good enough because he can't take you on shopping sprees. You know, most of that stuff is just fake. Social media, fake. TV, fake. People faking it. You know, it all looks nice. It all looks sweet. You know, but I think we're all at a point as adults, we know it's all fake. You know, it's like worse than wrestling in the 80s, you know. We all know it's fake, but keep on cheering. You know, tell that woman no. Tell her no. No, if it's, I'm not saying you gotta tell her no for a stick of gum. You know, if y'all out to dinner or something like that, and you're taking a woman out on a date, and she's like, "Oh, do you mind if I get a second margarita?" You know, of course, baby, of course you can. You know, little things, little things. We ain't tripping on little things. I'm tripping on women asking for their car note being paid. Why'd you even get a car or a car you can't afford? You sound like a bum. You sound like somebody who needs some financial advice because you're buying things you can't afford when you need to ask strangers to help you with your car note. You know, lots of these women, not only do they want or think it's your obligation to pay the rent, a lot of them are already behind on the rent because you're messing with these bummy women that have messy lives and they're already behind on the rent. And they want you to catch up the rent and pay the rent. Nope, 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 not your job. Don't pay a woman's rent. Don't pay her bills. I mean, if she's your wife, you don't have to pay her rent, obviously. You know, if you got a wife, I'm not talking about situations like this. If you got a wife and, you know, she's got a card and, you know, the balance goes to the accountant and it gets paid, whatever. You know, that's high value relationship stuff right there, you know. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about those women who walk into relationships with just or try to find relationships. Have you seen the dating apps? I see screenshots of them all day of women who have their expectations of what a man is supposed to do for them in the bios of their dating apps. I mean, you might as well just say WHORE, you know, because you're selling a service. You're selling a service. Like, men should never men should never fall for that. I mean, obviously it's working because it keeps happening. They keep finding more suckers. But if she's got a bio filled with her bills and her expenses and her expectations, and none of them say kindness, good with kids, you know, romantic, you know, they don't say any of that. They ain't looking for any of that. They don't, you know, romance, kindness, you know, a good man, you know, my rent is 2,000, my allowance is 1,000, gotta pay my hair, my nails, my kids need clothes. You know, that's their entire bio. It doesn't ask about somebody's personality one single bit. Not even a little bit. It's just, hey, you're gonna knock out this rent for me. And dudes are doing it and falling for it. Like I said, I can't even knock these women's hustle. Because these dudes are so stupid. These men are so dumb. They're so weak. Weak energy. No, tell her no. She gonna have more respect for you. You know? A high value woman, she ain't asking you for nothing but your time if she really likes you. So you don't really have to tell her no for that much unless you're busy because you're too busy making your money or building yourself. And that's it. So you don't have to tell her no that much. It's a great deal. That's the deal you should be looking for. Even if she's a woman who doesn't come from money. She might come from a broken home, At least it shows she has morals. She's not asking you to fill her fridge and pay her rent and take her shopping when you just meet her. Don't do it. It's so weak. It's the weakest energy for weak men. Don't do it, fellas. Stop. You're ruining it for all these other real young men out here. Well, you're ruining it for a whole generation of men, really. You're ruining it for a whole generation of men because these women just have these expectations that a man is supposed to do everything and expect nothing. Just expect nothing. She don't want to cook. She don't want to clean. She don't think it's her job to take care of the kids. A lot of times she asking for the man she dating to do more for her kids than the kid's father. Delusion. That's not your job. Don't do it. Don't do it. They're making fools of you, really. They are. These women are making absolute fools of these men. And these men are just lapping it up like a dog drinking water. They're ruining it for all the real men out there who, because even their expectations, if she a good woman, all the foul trash is starting to leak up into the upper levels, You don't want good women sitting around thinking, well, maybe because he's not doing this, he's not doing that, he doesn't care about me. Is that where we're at? We're shaming actual good women into not being good women because man ain't just heaping luxury items and luxury vacations on her because they just first met. It's not your job. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't fall for it. These women are bums to even ask. They're leeches for even asking a man pay for their blown out tire. Can you just get me a Starbucks? No. Why don't you get me a Starbucks since you were thinking about it? Men like thoughtful too. You had Starbucks on your mind. Starbucks only about $8-10. Why didn't you get me one? Ask me if I wanted one. Instead, you gonna take the time and energy to call and ask me to get you one or send you one? Nope. I'm not doing that. It's ridiculous that you would ask. I don't care if it is only $10. Call me broke energy, call me whatever. But you ain't gonna call me no sucker who did no dumb BS for your stupid ass. You need to end this trash. It's a trend. It's a trend of men doing stuff for women that they don't deserve. Don't do it. Say no. That's where it starts. The self-respect. Saying no just weeds out all the trash women who even would have the expectations or the gall or the gumption to even ask you to pay their car note or their rent or their bills. Don't do it. Don't do it. These women want you to pay their student loans. They just want a free life. They just think that they're entitled because they got a cute face to a free life. And these are the type of women you need to run from. Jet. It's unrealistic. You want to meet a woman with your wallet out? Now you got a daughter, and she gonna teach your daughter to run. She thinks that she needs a man that leads with his wallet. So you're gonna have a wife that's a service worker who started out. You had to pay for her time and services, so she's a service worker. Now you got a wife that's a service worker. You got a daughter, and then your daughter is being raised, and her biggest role model, her mother, is a service worker. Now your daughter is raised to think that all these expectations for men and men paying, so now she's a service worker too. Look at that. It just trickles down the generations. You know, hospital wards right this minute are full of women giving birth. And the only person there is their mama and their grandma. 3 generations of single women. That's not normal. That's not normal. The husbands didn't die at war. Their men didn't, no tragedies. It's just 3 unbearable, miserable women who chased men off by asking for too many things, having too high of expectations, leaving good men because they weren't making enough or doing enough when they ain't have no business doing any of that nonsense for your trifling ass. You know? Stop doing it, fellas. Say no. It's a superpower. You know? You're around a beautiful woman, everybody in the room is yesing her and kissing her butt, and you're the only one who doesn't. Boy, I bet you she looks at you a lot different than she looks at everybody else. She's intrigued by that because she's not used to it. You around her enough, might be the job or something, you around her enough, and you ignore her, you ain't kissing her butt like everybody else, keeping conversations short and on a need-to basis. She's intrigued by that. Beautiful woman, she's like, I know I'm beautiful because all these other people tell me so. Every time I'm around people, every time I walk out into public, everybody tells me how beautiful. But this guy, he ain't telling me, he ain't kissing my butt. He's keeping it brief, Next thing you know, she's sniffing around you like a hound dog because you were the only one who had enough self-respect not to kiss her butt. And now she's engaging you in conversation. It works. Please believe me, it works. Don't kiss her butt. We live in a society so shallow right now that just telling a woman no, it intrigues her. She's not used to it. It makes her, if you haven't realized or you haven't found out by now that, women want what they can't have, as soon as it's a little spark in her brain that, she can't have you, you ain't kissing her butt, that turns her on. Having self-respect, being able to put your foot down, it all turns her on. They love that stuff. They love it. They don't want that man who doesn't know how to say no, that they can just walk all over. They don't want that man that they can just walk all over. They might want him for a paycheck. They might want him for all the list of her bum needs, her list of bills and expectations. But she doesn't want that man for long term. A lot of you men are giving money to these women and you're supporting her lifestyle with the man she's really into or the man that she's really with. Do y'all not understand that? You are. You're financing her lifestyle with a different man. Pretty women have a man. They all have somebody. Whatever label they put on it, that might be different. But all beautiful women have somebody. And you sending her money through all these different cash sending apps, and you are definitely supporting her lifestyle with that man she really likes or is really into and is really giving the time to. Be a man. Don't accept that. Why on earth would you be sending a woman money? It's not your mama, it's not your daughter. A woman will cry her eyes out, look you dead in the eyes, be lying through her teeth, telling you she needs money for something and she really needs it for something else. A lot of these women you're giving money to, they're turning over and giving the money straight to another man. That's facts. I've seen it. I've seen it hundreds of times. You know, they got a list of suckers in their phone, a list of men in their phone who's sending them money, and they just giving the money right on over to another man or financing the lifestyle with the man they're into or the man that they're really with. You know, do you wake up in the morning and be like, I want to really help this other person's relationship shine? I want to make sure they have a good time in Miami or Vegas. You know, it's stupid. It's stupid, weak energy. No man wakes up thinking, oh, I want to finance. Nah, you're trying to buy love and you're getting played. You're buying love, you're getting played. She's spending that money or giving that money with another man, or, you know, it's a fact. You're getting played. If you don't think some woman you hardly see, but you're sending her money all the time, is spending that money with another man, then your head is in the sand. Grow up. You're lost. It's a fact. She's spending that money. She's giving that money or spending it with the one she really likes. And it ain't you. It sure ain't you. You know, you're the sucker. Him and her are both laughing at you. Laughing all the way to the bank. You know, I see women got men sending them all kinds of money, paying their bills. They on vacation with the man they really like. I see that all the time. You know, you got a team of men, or even sometimes just one good one. He over here financing vacations. Nice vacations, nice hotels. Got this sucker on the side paying for all the stuff he wants to be doing. She's doing it with somebody else with your money. How could you live with yourself like that? Be a man, grow up, level up, build yourself up, drink water, go to the gym. Go to the gym. Work on yourself, invest in yourself, multiple streams of income. You know, you have no business, unless all your goals are reached, you just have absolutely no business paying these women bills and sending them money. You know, literally the most a woman should get out of you before she's your wife is, you know, some dinner dates. Simple dinner dates. You know, Texas Roadhouse. You know, 2-for-1 apps at Applebee's. Things like that. You know, coffee. Simple things. You know, watching movies. If you can't get her time unless it costs you a pretty penny, then, you know, let that go. You're swimming through life with anchors tied to your ankles. Let that baggage bum woman go. You ain't got no business paying her bills. It's not your obligation. Tell her no. No. It's not hard. Let it roll off your tongue. You know, sometimes they ask for things that are so outlandish. You know, you need to say more than no. Tell them, like, look, that's not even cool that you asked me all that. That's not cool. I don't even appreciate that somebody would come at me like that to ask me all these things. At least I wouldn't. I sure wouldn't. Who would? Who likes to be used? Unless you're some sicko with some sick fetish. Who likes to be used? No man likes to be used. That's all y'all making us feel like is we're used. We're good for one thing. Maybe two. But most women say most men ain't even good at one of those things. So really, you're just saying we just good to finance your hot girl summer, your vacations, your lifestyle. And as soon as we're not willing to pay for everything that one of your dumb friends has some dumb man paying for, then we get accused of not being nothing. It's just ridiculous. You know, I'm going to take me a little break. Take 5. Thanks to the people who are listening. All right, I'm back. Sorry about the delay. This hair is bugging the crap out of me. Tuck it. There we go. All right, let's get back right back to the subject, the title, the power of telling even the most beautiful woman no. It's a lost art. It's for men that value themselves. It's for men that have self-respect. For a man who's going to put his goals and his dreams before any feminine energy woman telling him what he has to be doing to be considered a man. Actually, that's a masculine energy woman. She shouldn't be telling a man anything about his goals. A man should just be so locked in, like the horses with the blinders. You know, if she fits into your view, then she gets into your view because she's valuable enough or is a good enough woman. That's one thing. That's a whole nother story. But you got to be able to tell these women no. You just got to be able to tell them no, because if you don't tell them no, their expectations will just get wilder and wilder and crazier and crazier. You know? You know I'm not lying. They will push those boundaries until you have none. And snatched your soul at this point. You know? Woman asks you to pay her bills. No. I don't feel comfortable doing that. I don't know you like that. You know, I think if a woman asks you to pay her bills, I think the smartest thing you can do is just ignore that text. Ignore that text. It's not your obligation. It's not your business. You know, and it's going to be a text 9 times out of 10 because they don't like to ask that weasel BS, you know, to your face or over the phone, or, you know, they going to send it in a text for sure. You know, I'm late on my car payment. You know, could you possibly help me? Psh, you get that text, block her. Block her. Don't even answer back. Block her. Because that isn't the type of woman a high value man needs in his life or should want in his life. Obviously, she ain't got her together. Why would you want that in your life? You know, a woman who's behind on her car payment. You know, that says she can't afford her car. If she can't afford her car, then she doesn't even need to be dating. Move back with your mother. You're a child. And you dang sure ain't the next man's obligation that he needs to be paying it. Behind on your rent. You need your rent paid. A lot of these women don't even need the rent paid. They just literally have it in their dating bio that a man needs to pay the rent. What? And then these women wonder why chivalry is dead. They wonder why chivalry is dead because y'all always got your hand out. You're always begging. You know, you ain't no better than the guy standing on the side of the freeway entrance asking for change because he's hungry. Y'all in the same boat. Y'all just dressed a little nicer and prettier, and, you know, that's it. It's the same concept. Y'all out here fishing for any man who's gonna pay your bills, throwing your bio on these dating apps of lists of things a man needs to buy for you or do for you or pay for you. He doesn't need to pay for nothing, not a squat. He shouldn't be paying for nothing. You know? All y'all are doing is showing us that you're the exact type of woman we need to avoid like the plague. You know? Avoid these type of women. We have way too many men embracing these type of women. You know, y'all embracing them, catering to their demands and needs like some suckers. You know, these women are service workers, you know, because they're demanding payment for service of their time. So they're service workers, and you sitting here sucking it up. They call it boss energy. I call it broke energy. No woman who comes from a good household, good family, they've installed morals in her. She has more morals to be asking for you to pay her rent and her bills and blah blah blah, her electricity, her car note. You know, the new iPhone came out. Who cares? Who cares? That ain't your problem. She might want it, but it ain't your problem. No. She'll go to another man to get it. The next man will get it for her. Good. Great. That sounds like the best deal for me because you just let me know that you ain't the type of woman I even need to be messing with. You know, you're throwing another man in my face. You're double letting me know that. And you're begging for me to buy you some phone. Don't do it. Give me a phone. It could be whatever. They all have a list of needs, these type of women. Like I said, I'm not talking about all women. And I'm not being too hard on the women. I'm hard on a certain type of women, but I'm even harder on the men. Y'all weak. Y'all weak. So weak. I've seen it. I've seen professional athletes just be weak as heck around the woman. That's way, way below his value. Way below his value. And he over there acting like a sucker. She over there got him like putty in her hand. It's ridiculous. I don't know how they're getting away with it. It's highway robbery, if you ask me. It's highway robbery. You know, and these women that ain't worth a dime, thinking they're entitled to just the most luxury, no working, no doing nothing. You know, we got celebrities. I'm not going to name any, but we got celebrities talking about how hard it is to be a parent and all that. And they got a team of nannies. And a bunch of broke women are clapping like seals. Like, it is so hard. It is so hard to be a mother and balance your career and blah, blah, blah. I mean, you sitting there clapping along with women who have a butler, a nanny, a maid. I'm sorry. I'm going to call them out. If you sitting there complaining about how hard it is to be a mother and you got a maid and a butler, stop encouraging women that don't have what you have to be bums. You rich and they're displaying bum tendencies, encouraging women to play victim. You know, these celebrity women, they have butlers and maids and drivers and, you know, chauffeur drivers, things like that. They're complaining about how tough it is to be a parent. You know, go tell that to the woman that's, you know, busting that extra shift at McDonald's to on her feet for 17 hours. You know, trying to put Christmas together for the kids. I don't want to hear it anymore. It's just you're passing on entitlement. These celebrities with maids and endless bank accounts, just passing on entitlement. You know, and these celebrity worshiping women are lapping it up and then think they need to be entitled and live that life. until life smacks them in the mouth. Next thing you know, they're in their mid 30s, couple kids. Now you got to work that double shift. Now you got to be on your feet all that time, trying to be like this celebrity or clapping like a seal for this celebrity that had all these maids and got endless bank accounts. It didn't seem so smart. Your life, most lives don't pan out like that. There's only a small percentage of people who have maids and things to help raise the kids. You should be able to look yourself in the mirror, divide that by your age, and be realistic and be like, that's probably not going to be me. Only a small percentage of women are really truly beautiful where they could just demand everything. And it's not you, sweetheart. It's not you. We got all these 5s and 4s thinking they can demand things that a 22-year-old 9 gets. You're pushing 40. You're a 4. You don't get the same things that 22, 23, 24-year-old 9s and 10s get. You just don't. That's life. It's just like men. We don't have the same options when we're broke. A rich man, he can be 300 pounds. He can have no facial features that women like. He can just be a big old oaf. But if that man has charisma and his money right, women will be genuinely attracted to him. Not even just attracted to him for his money. Women will be like, dang, look at his swag. Look at him. He's a man amongst men. They love it. If you can be a man amongst men, that's why I encourage you all to level yourself up. These women love it. They love it, love it, love it. You're like, oh, stop being like these women. Stop displaying this feminine energy. Stop displaying the feminine energy. Stop micromanaging your looks and your facial features and all this. Make yourself clean cut for show. Smell good. Always smell good. But, a man doesn't have to have chiseled Greek god features. He doesn't. He doesn't. You know what he has to have? Self-confidence. Charisma. Moxie. Keep your chin up. Look people in the eyes. Be a man amongst men. Women love it. They love it. There's plenty of pretty boys who are soft as a cotton ball. And women don't got no respect for them. They might see them out and about at the bar, the club, out in public. But, oh, look at him. He's so cute. They get to know him. They ain't got no respect for him. As soon as he opens his mouth for longer than 5 minutes, they don't have no respect for him. But that man who demands respect when he walks into a room, he might not look perfect. He ain't gotta look perfect. Man, them women, they can't handle themselves around him. Because he's a man amongst men. He demands respect when he walks into a room. And women love that. Men love it. He demands respect. People listen. People want to know what he's got to say. He doesn't even have to say anything. People want to hear what's coming out of his mouth because he has self-respect for himself and it glows off of him. It glows off of him. It radiates off of him. A man who's got self-confidence, they might call it swag. I call it moxie. Self-confidence. It radiates off. He's glowing. He's glowing when he steps in the room and women love it. Men respect it. He doesn't have to have the chiseled perfect features like women do. Because men are so superficial and simple. Our desires are so much different. Whenever we're ready to acknowledge that there's different desires for different genders, but that's a whole different show. I'm talking about telling women no and boosting your own self-respect. They love it. You know? You're turning that woman on by putting your foot down. You think you're turning her on by never saying no. You got $11 in your bank account. That woman wants a $10 coffee and you just don't have the heart to tell her no. What's wrong with you? Number one, grow up. Just grow up. You acting like a little boy. It's time to grow up. Number two, work on yourself. When you're past 18, I'll give it to, men grow up faster mentally than women. We need to get some stuff out of our system. I'll be the first one to acknowledge that. I sure was. So, if you're past like 23, 24, you're spending your last little crumb money trying to impress a woman, can't say no to her. You can't say no. You're spending up all your little money. You're a little boy. It's time to grow up. And when I mean grow up, it's time to shut all of it down and work on yourself. I could be talking to somebody who's 24. I could be talking to somebody who's 34. I could be talking to somebody who's 44. I could be talking about somebody who's 54, because men don't have a ceiling. A man with his money right and his body tight is unstoppable. You could be 60 years old. You still taking care of your body. You got your money right. You drinking your water. You're still vibrant. You're still a man. It's easy for men. Men can be that until their mid-80s. So don't think you're out here in your mid-50s, mid-40s, mid-30s like you missed it. You missed out. Every 10 years you're going to be like, dang, I was so young back then. I had so much energy back then. Don't give up, fellas. We've all been through them relationships that drug us down, But it's how you respond. It's how you see yourself later. Tell that woman no. Get her out your life if her expectations are really that high and you can't afford it. But get her out your life anyway, because you don't want a woman like that. You don't want a woman that's constantly begging and asking you for things. There's going to be a day you gotta say no because you have to say no because you can't afford it, and she's going to make you feel like shit, and you're going to feel like shit, and then there's going to be guilt involved and all that bull. Don't do it. Don't be a part of it. You got to respect yourself. You got to be able to tell that woman no. Always be able to tell her no. Have some boundaries. You have that little voice in the back of your head when, she asks for some crap is a little pushy. Maybe a little bit too much. And I'm not even talking about too expensive. Just how do you have the audacity to ask that? What's wrong with you? When that little red light goes on in the back of your head, listen to it. Don't ignore it. You can have 20 years of your life just stolen by one of these leeches that you can never do enough for. Nothing is ever enough. Nothing is ever enough. The next thing you do, it's on to the next thing. You do her right with a car. She want a nicer car. And then it moves on to the next object or thing or vacation. Because most of these people are broken. They have big holes in their soul. You're dealing with these broken women with holes in their soul. There's no filling those holes. And you think you're going to fill it with material things and paying her bills? There's no filling all the holes in the souls and hearts of these broken women, with material things. It never ends. Don't do it. Say no. Stop the pattern. Get these women out your life that even think it's okay to ask you for all these things. If you live in an apartment, period, you shouldn't be paying another woman's rent in an apartment. You ain't even moved up in the level in your life where you own a house, where you're living in a house and you're paying another woman's rent now. And you're paying 2 apartment rents. Congratulations, sucker. Stupid. I've seen it happen. I've seen men dealing with it. Say no. And of course, I've seen it happen. It was with men that should have kicked that woman to the curb a long time ago because she taking him for a ride. She riding him like a sled going downhill. Fast. She's taking his life downhill fast. It just needs to end. We're going to be in a society where just love is just out of the equation. Caring about somebody is out of the equation. The only equation is going to be how much he can spend on me. Stop teaching your daughters that how much a man spends is the equivalent of how much he loves you. Because that equation just says that a broke man can't love a woman. Or not even a broke man, just a man that's doing well in life. He just got a regular ass job, He's incapable of love because he's incapable of spoiling her like she's a celebrity. What? That's where we're at. That's where we're getting to with not being able to say no is, if you can't spoil that woman and you can't financially glow her up, like, you don't deserve love, affection, time. Is that where we're at in society? That a man with just a regular, hard-working 9 to 5, he's incapable of showing love because he can't afford the luxury things that are equated with love these days? It's so sad. It is sad. It's dehumanizing us. Women are just fully saying, the more you spend on me, the more you love me. And we're just okay with it. Okay, that's who dares challenge the hierarchy of womenness and what's going on with it. And if he can't do this, a lot of men can't do that. He can't take you on that luxury vacation, buy you does that mean he loves you less? According to society right now, it does. If he can't take you shopping and buy you the nicest clothes, take you on the nicest vacations, that means he loves you less. That's what society's saying right now. And it's really sad. It's really sad. Thank you, Kay Ford. I see you. I am a handsome man, but I'm taken. I got a good one at home. So you got these men that are even paying for cosmetic surgeries, boob jobs, nose jobs, BBLs. Tell her no. Tell her no. She's just trying to level up in life so she can find somebody who can spoil her, take care of her, give her, you know, more than you do. You know, all the Botox and all the upkeep and doing a woman's lips and stuff like that. Number one, I don't even know why you'd want a woman who has to blow up her face to even feel like she looks normal. That's low self esteem energy. Now, I don't even want a woman who has to pound a bunch of chemicals into her face to feel like she looks her best because I don't want that taught to my daughter. Just absolutely not. I want my daughter to be confident and to have self esteem. I don't want some mom that has so much Botox and chemicals in her face she doesn't even look like her the pictures when she was a little kid. You know, she don't even resemble her high school pictures anymore. She don't resemble her junior high pictures anymore. All that Botox and fake lips and tucks and nips and that's low self-esteem energy from a woman. You should run from that. Run, run, run. You don't want that taught. You need to teach your daughters they beautiful. Let's get back to teaching people they're beautiful the way they are. Now we're being taught, you know, if you don't like anything about yourself, just change it. Just change anything about yourself you don't like. Just change it. No, no, no. That's low self-esteem. You know, love yourself. I mean, I'm not talking about if you have some mole on your face and you want to get it removed to feel better about yourself. Of course. Of course. But if you need to feel like you're beautiful, you need to have 20 injections in your forehead, around your eyes, your cheekbones, Botox, your lips done. That's not even you anymore, sweetheart. Oh, I'm just gonna do a little here, a little there, and then next thing you know, that woman doesn't even look like the same person anymore. That's low self-esteem energy that you do not want passed on to your daughters. Or do you want your son to look at a picture of his mom from her freshman year of high school, then look at his mom and be like, who is this monster? I mean, natural beauties are just really going out of style. And it's so sad. It's so sad. I remember there was these twins. They're very beautiful, and they're um, young women. And I just commented. I was like, young women that are beautiful don't need to be having any plastic surgery or don't need to be at the cosmetic surgeon for their face. I got attacked by the women so tough. I had hundreds of comments on my one little simple comment. I thought I was being nice, saying, don't mess with your natural beauty. That's what I was really trying to say. Don't be preaching that you need to. Don't be influencing other women to think that they need to mess with something. If a woman's creeping into her 40s, she wants to do a little something, something, a little subtle something. I get that. We got these women in their young 20s pumping all these chemicals into their face and blowing their faces up. They don't even look like the same person. And we got a bunch of weak men paying for it. We know you're a weak man because you're even encouraging it. No strong man's going to encourage a 23-year-old woman to do so much mess to her face she doesn't even look like the same person anymore. You weak energy for encouraging that and weaker energy for not telling her no. It's not hard to be like, hey, look, you don't even need that and I'm not paying for it. Like, there's no way I'm going to pay for something that I don't even think will make you prettier because you don't need that. Say no. You think a woman who's trying to get you to pay for BBL. You think she's gonna, once she gets it and she's feeling finer than she's ever felt in her life, or she's feeling good about herself and her confidence and her self-esteem's through the roof, you think she's gonna still be with you? She's looking for the next come up, you know? How is that not so obvious? That she's just looking for the next come up. And you sitting there paying for it. And that's my problem. We got these weak men paying for her come up. You know? Nose job. Boob jobs. All kinds of cosmetic things these men are paying for. You know? I don't get it. It's not your problem. You know, if you meet her and she's already paid for that stuff, you know, that's one thing. But it's not your obligation. It's not your job. It's not your obligation to pay for jack crap. Nothing. Squat. I advise you to tell these women to kick rocks. Those are $1,000 surgeries, you know, thousands of dollars surgeries. And we got women walking around asking men they hardly know to spend this money. Yeah, it's insane. The entitlement, the zero accountability. Because as soon as you say no, now you're the problem. As soon as you say no, you're the problem. Zero accountability. Because the real problem exists in her asking for some BS that she ain't got no business asking somebody for, that she doesn't even hardly know. I don't even know how they feel good about themselves just asking. Begging. Let's call it what it is, begging. We can call these type of women panhandlers. Because that's all they're doing is begging. We're going to call these type of women panhandlers because all they know how to do is beg. All they was taught to do is beg. They're beggars, they're panhandlers. They always got their hand out. Rent, food, shopping. It never ends. It never ends. Once you don't say no anymore, it never ends. Say no. Luxury vacations. It'll never be enough. It'll never be enough to satisfy the hole in their broken souls, hole in their broken hearts. You know, they trying to cure their trauma from growing up in a broken home, past garbage relationships with material crap and exciting lives. It's not your obligation. You're not her therapist. You're not her daddy. You know? That should be one of the most attractive things these days if a woman isn't asking you for things. It's subtle, it's soft, it's feminine. It's wonderful. I mean, she's not entitled. She doesn't think you're obligated to do things that you ain't got no business doing, and you're sitting there just being a weak man doing these things. There's so many weak men doing these things. You're just giving us all a bad reputation. I mean, these women are expecting it. You know? And then they hit a roadblock with a real man who says no, they think something's wrong with him. There ain't nothing wrong with him. You ain't worth it. They got every derogatory name in the book for a man who tells them no. They'll say he's GAY. They'll say he's weak. They say he's broke. You know, say he has broke energy. Say he needs to step up. And this broke, begging, panhandling bum woman, she barely has a pot to piss in. You know, judge a woman by her apartment, her house, her bedroom. You know, stop being told you're not a real man by some woman who got an air mattress on the floor, one blanket with an ashtray on the floor, smoking blunts all day. You know, these women really will have the audacity to have the most filthy, trifling lives. They don't even have an apartment. They live in a spare room at their mom's or their auntie's or their friend's apartment. And, you know, they got an air mattress on the floor, a bunch of fast food wrappers and garbage all around their bed. And then they talking about you're not a real man. Okay, I see it all the time. You know, there's different levels to it. I see plenty of women with just having a messy apartment isn't an indictment that you're not wife material. You know, I see women with messy apartments, messy houses, disgusting bathrooms. They talk, and then as soon as a man says no, he's not a real man. He needs to step up. How about you need to clean your bathtub, you filthy, funky little bee? It's disgusting. Clean your bathtub, clean your toilet, wipe off your sink before you judge a man because he says no or won't pay for your BS or pay your bills. What are you doing every month anyway? You got a filthy house, you filthy apartment. You expecting men to pay your rent? What have you even been doing all month? You know? We have the most do nothing, worth nothing, nothing to offer women out here who just expect the flippin' world. You know? Is it ever gonna end? It's not gonna end until these weak men learn to say no. You know, these weak men will go broke trying to please one of these panhandling bum women with their hand always out. I seen it. I see it every day. You know, it's so weak. You know, you got women with multiple kids by multiple babies' daddies. You know, they're out at the club every night, every weekend for sure, trying to find the next come up. And you're sitting here sending them monies, using these apps to send them food. You can tell they broke because they always hungry. Always hungry. They need nice meals. They need meals sent to their house. Don't do any of it, fellas. Don't do any of it. Say no. I don't care if you can afford it. That's not the point. That's not the point. You should be able to afford it, you weak MF. That's not the point. You shouldn't be doing it. You shouldn't be bowing down and never saying no to these broads, these women, these beggars, these panhandlers. Because they're panhandling in the streets. You know? At least the guy panhandling on the side of the highway, he's honest about his hustle. He's like, down on my luck. He'll hold up a sign. Down on my luck. Could you please spare some change so I can get a meal? These women, they ain't even got no explanation. Do it. You know, can you use the app to have some Red Lobster delivered at my house? Need the seafood boil. No. Get out of here with that. You can't even cook a seafood boil. All it takes is some boiling water and some seasoning. You can't even do that. But we tell you no and we're not a real man. We need to step up. We need to step away from these type of women. We need to run away from these type of women. Block these type of women. I mean, or it'll never end. They're sucking up all the masculine energy because they bossing around these dudes, telling them they think they need to do it. They really be having a lot of these younger generation men who really think that's That's the way they need to treat a woman, is just spoil her down to her every whim. They're creating monsters. Got a whole generation of young monster women. They just egos out of control, expectations out of control, zero accountability, but think men owe them the world. We don't owe you jack. And these weak men need to stop giving in to their pressure. They got these masculine attitude mouths that wear men down. Got men acting out of character. This ain't even our character. You know? Didn't no caveman go hunt down a deer and just give it to the woman. No, I don't even want to eat. You ain't got to cook for me, nothing. You just, you take it. This is food for you. Let me cook it for you, matter of fact. You just sit there and eat and look pretty. She ain't your child. She ain't your child. Stop treating her like she's your child. Stop letting her think she can ask you for things like she's your child. Tell her no. N-O. Love yourself more. Have a little more to offer. Yourself. Every cent you're spending, not telling these women no, you could be investing in yourself. Multiple streams of income. If you ain't got them and you're doing this dumb BS for these women, you're lost. You're lost in the sauce. She got you. It's not in a woman's character to be a beggar. It's not in a man's character to succumb to the begging. There's just no self-respect all around. Maybe I need to say that one more time. It's not in a woman's character to be a beggar. And it's not in a man's character to succumb to her begging. It's just not. That's not how relationships are supposed to work. Those are relationships that are totally void of self-respect. Y'all don't respect each other. You don't respect yourself. The man's trying to buy love and the woman's using him. It's a vicious cycle with no cooperation unless it's by him spending. You should want a woman who cooperates you, who lifts you up, who cherishes you, who helps you too. That's not helping you. If a woman's not helping you, she is hurting you. No gray area. I've repeated this many times, and I'm going to repeat it many more. If she is not helping you, she is hurting you. Zero gray area. So sit back, and if you see your relationship as the latter, the hurting you, she's doing more damage, she's costing you more money, leave. Bye. Block her. You don't even have to give her an explanation. Zero explanations needed. You don't have to explain nothing. This is your life. Take control of it. You don't need to explain what you're doing to this woman, or why you're moving on, or your plans. This is your life. You don't owe her an explanation for anything. You're not going to be together with her anyway. I'm not saying be rude to her, be mean to her, but, tell her it's over. Block her. If she got one of them rude, funky attitudes, just block her. Because you're going to have to deal with a whole mess trying to explain to her, or blah, blah, blah. So, I'm actually going to take a picture of this message right here with my phone. Say no, fellas. Say no. It's a superpower. It demands respect. Women respect it. Men respect it. You know, don't be so weak. Say no. You ain't got no business paying these women's bills. You definitely don't have any business paying for child care if those ain't your kids. Paying car notes. You know, don't let her be demanding nothing. We're not succumbing to demands. So, I'm going to sign off right now. Hope people got the message. It's a powerful thing. Say no. I'm going to revisit this topic. It's so powerful. Good night. Maybe I'll come back here in a little bit. Thank you for the people who did listen.